Second video, make sure you've watched the first video on this. This one is expanded a wee bit. So this time I've had to look through the past papers and find a circuit layout diagram, because there's not many, there's not a big bank of these types of questions. We've only got 5 or 6 and they're all different types. So the best way to revise for this style of question is to look through the past papers and find circuit layout diagrams like this. Okay, the one on the left here. Now this is not actually part of the question. I've just taken this to help show what happens when we use an IC chip. And what I've done here is I've taken this off the internet. It's a strip board layout planning sheet, very similar to the one we've got in the classroom that we use when we're copying out the diagrams. Again, you'll be given similar layout to this in the exam. Now, one thing this strip board layout diagram does not have is it does not have your power rails. So what we've got to do is the power rails can either go, you can either do this on one side or the other. So I'm going to do it on the right hand side here, and I'm going to put plus 6 volts, right, voltage supply, 6 volts, right, and that's my VS. Okay, then I'm going to do the one at the bottom, which is my 0 volts. Okay, that's your ground, GRND, ground. Okay, and that's your nodes in. Okay, so that tells you that's where you're putting your power to these rows. So basically that 6 volt supply, as always, is running along that top row there. Okay, right along, just like it is here in this diagram here. And the ground, let's put in grey this time, is running right along there. Okay, exactly the same here. Okay, now in the exam, they're often quite kind for you. They'll actually draw in the IC chip. Now you don't draw it like it is in a circuit diagram, like a triangle. You have to go to the data sheet. Now if you go to the data sheet, you will see the IC pin layout for a 741 op amp, right? And let me just see the now. I want to swing back to my data sheet. Data sheet, there's it there, and there's the diagram there. Okay, so you check in the exam, is it a 741 op amp or is it a 555 timer? You would want to have this data sheet with this pin layout on your table next to your other 2 sheets when you're doing this, because this is what you refer to your 8 pins. Okay, so I'm going to have this, but I'll have it next to my iPad here. So let's go back to here. Now, obviously in this one, they've not given me the actual pin layout, so I'm going to very quickly draw this in. I'm going to draw it in the middle of the strip board. Now, for an IC chip, it runs 4 by 4. 4 by 4. That would be, and then I've got my wee notch at the top to indicate the top of the actual IC chip itself, and then I would write in there 741 op amp. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that slightly bigger. That there's pin 1, pin 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and there's my filling my wee notch there at the top. Okay, right, so that is going to go to there, 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 and there, and there. Right, now what they don't do is they don't number your pins for you. Now if you can, it's often worth to number those pins, because it just makes it easier when you're referring to everything. So let's go here, and I'm going to make this a wee bit bigger, and I'm going to number these 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And again, I'm just taking this from the data sheet itself. Right, Now, if you look at the data sheet, you will see that the input on this triangle for the op-amp symbol for a circuit diagram, the input for the non-inverting side, this bit here, hold on, rub that out. Let's go for red. For this bit here is pin number 2. The input for the non-inverting, the positive, if you look at the circuit diagram, is coming from pin number 3. The output from an op-amp comes from pin number 6. The power supply comes from pin number 7, which goes up to 6 volts, and the ground comes from pin number 4. Okay? Which means that pins number 1, 5, and 8 are not used. Okay? So that's the first task, to number your triangle of your op-amp and put in the correct pin numbers, because that will help you when you do your diagram. Alright? So first task I would do is I would get in my wires for my voltage supply. So here we go. Now this will take you a bit of time in the exam. This is the one question at the very end, I mean, that is going to be the tester for you all. So from our pin number 7, which is here, I'm going to put a wire going up to the voltage supply. So that's powering the IC. And then on here, I am going to highlight that as done. Then I'm going to do the exact same with here from pin number 4. Now pin number 4 in this case is at this side. Now again, I can pick any of these dots for power, but it makes most logic sense for me to pick the first dot available coming out from the chip. Okay, so there's going to be here, and that's going to go a wire, which is going to go straight down to ground. Okay, I'm going to stop this video. I'm going to split this video into 2 parts because it's a long video. Okay, it just makes it easier for me to upload it onto Google Classroom. So this is part 1. Part 2 is coming next.